Good evening. Welcome to Rhythm and Blues Preservation Society's Monday Music Spotlight. I'm your host, President and CEO, Perry Thompson. Tonight, I'll be interviewing Miss Deanna Brown, daughter of the Godfather soul, Mr. James Brown. So let's get on here now. Wait for her. Give me a minute, ladies and gentlemen. A minute. Just trying to get her on here. See what's going on. Are you there, Ms. Brown? Hold on, ladies and gentlemen. Invite her. Let's see what's going on. Brown, are you there? See what's going on here, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, invite her. Let's see what's going on here. Okay, let's see. Think we on here. Hold on. Get my video. Here we go. Ms. Brown, are you there? Ms. Brown?
Oh,
There you go. All right. Ms. Brown, how you doing
I'm
tonight?
well. I'm well. I'm
Can you?
trying to make sure I'm on here with you so you can get a good view. Okay, is that better?
There you go. How you doing, Ms.
I'm
Brown?
well. How are you tonight?
Is it Ms. Brown or Mrs. Thomas? I mean, I don't want to.
It's either whichever. It's fine. Nobody's gonna get upset.
Mrs. Thomas, no disrespect. First of all, thank you for being on our Monday Media Spotlight. It's really an honor, you're one of our biggest supporters, and I appreciate you being on with us.
No problem. Trying to make sure I look right. Trying to make sure all my hair is in place.
You okay?
Thank you for having me.
Now,
I do appreciate it.
thank you. Now let's go back as far as your child, because you're from Queens like I am. You born in Jamaica, Queens.
No, not Jamaica, Queens. I did have a sister that was in
Linden
Jamaica, Queens.
Boulevard.
Yeah, my sister Venetia Brown.
Linden Boulevard.
She passed away. She was from Jamaica, but I was born in Queens, and we lived in St. Albans.
Right, St. Albans. Right. I remember because my dad. He showed me the house. Like, that's where James Brown lived. Like, wow, okay. Now, what was it like growing up with the Godfather's soul?
Well, you know what? I got to tell you, my dad was a very strict dad. With no, wasn't a whole lot of playing going around. He was a strict father, and
Like, Papa don't take no mess.
I didn't hear you. What'd you say?
I said, like his song said, Papa don't take no mess.
And I lived it. He wrote the song, and I lived it. Yes, that is absolutely correct. You couldn't have.
Wow.
It couldn't have been said no better.
Wow. Now, did you actually start going on tour with him as a little girl?
Well, yeah. I mean, I as a little girl, and when my mom would go, we would go on tour. But I was able to go on tour with Dad when I got older, as an adult, which was life's lessons for me. It was wow. I got a degree in college, but being on the road with my father, was a lot of stuff that I was able to learn. Of course, it's hard work, and you got to rehearse and everything for on the stage, but there was also a lot of off the stage business that my father handled that was very interesting to me. And
right.
So it was like I said, it was a lot of life's lessons that I was able to learn.
Now, you actually performed on Soul Train when you were little.
Yes, I was, back in 1974.
Right, and that's how I got introduced to you, and also Reverend Al Sharpton.
Oh, okay.
Because he presented your dad with like a black album in the plaque. I was like, wow. And I saw that episode, and I remember you dancing on stage and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was very interesting. The record companies gave out gold albums, but in the black community, you got a black album.
Yeah. Ms. Brown?
I'm here.
Okay, there you go. What were you saying?
I was saying, the record company gave out gold albums, but in our community, you got a black album.
Right. Now, can you remember like a memorable moment when you went on tour with your dad? Because your dad toured all over the world. I mean, do you have a memorable moment going on the road with your dad? Like, wow. Like any great stories you have with your dad?
I got a lot of them, but there's one that sticks with me, and I talk about a lot because it taught me a lot. We were out in LA, and we were riding around South Central LA, as a matter of fact. And Dad asked the limousine driver to stop the car. And when he
Right.
got out, of course, the security guards was jumping out because no one understood what he was doing. They didn't know. He was like, he just said, stop the car in the middle of the road. So he got out and he was like, come on, Deanna, I want to show you something. So we started walking across the street, and we were walking towards a lot of homeless people who were
Mm.
laid out on the sidewalk, laying on cardboard or old blankets, whatever they had. And when they saw us walking across the street, they were looking like, wow, you can see it on their faces. They start coming up from being in the sleep or whatever, and they look up and here comes James Brown walking across the street. You might think you dreaming. And
Right.
so he started giving out money, and he told this one young man, he said, go take this money and go clean yourself up, go get something to eat, go do something for yourself. He says, think about
Right.
yourself. And what I saw wasn't so much the fact that he was able to Dad was able to give him money. I saw that a lot. But what he did was he gave that young man hope. That's what I learned from that. It wasn't just about the money. It was about the hope
Right.
that he gave him by taking the time out
Right.
to walk across the street and to talk to these homeless people.
Wow. Yeah, because your dad came from poverty. I mean, he understood. I mean, he really understood as far as where he came from. He never forgot that. That's when he always spoke about that. He always spoke about how he used to shine shoes and how he used to dance in the street for quarters. He never stopped mentioning that. Even, I mean, he still to the early 2000s. He always mentioned that. I mean, it just shows his humility.
Yes, exactly. He never forgot where he came from, and he knew that, like, every year he would do the James Brown Turkey giveaway, which we are blessed to continue through the James Brown Family Foundation. And that was a time where he could, see a lot of the guys he grew up with, and a lot of the people that didn't, of course, make it out of the hood like he did. So that was a blessing for him to be down there. And and he said, he looked forward to doing that because he was able to see the brothers and the sisters that he grew up with. They didn't make it out the hood. And it was important for them to see him, for him to come and for them to see him.
Right. Wow.
Not just on
Now,
stage or on TV, but to see him in
right.
person.
Right, because he always walked around in the neighborhood, in the hood. I mean, my dad used to, when y'all were living in Linden Boulevard, he would always show me that's Mr. James Brown's house. And I believe I saw your dad one time. I can't remember when, but I recall actually seeing. I didn't actually meet your dad, but I do remember seeing, the house, and did he used to have barbecues for the public at the house? I don't know. I mean, what I was told. I don't know if that's true or not.
Which house? In New York? I don't know. Too young.
Yeah.
Too young for me to know that one. I would have been too young to
Now,
remember that.
okay. Now, how long did you stay in New York?
A little less than a year, and then moved down to Georgia. My mother didn't really want to raise
Okay.
any children in New York. She wanted to come down where Dad was from and live a more slower life.
Okay. Okay. Wow. So you said that you have now you said you attended now as your teenage years. Would you still go on the road with your dad in your teenage years?
Every now and then when I would visit him, my sister and I would visit him, we might go out, but it was more or less because during school we couldn't go, in
Right.
the summertime, we could go on a tour with him. And
Right.
We did that. I remember, a few summers going away with him when he was on tour. But I did it mostly once I became an adult, once I graduated from college and everything.
Right. What do you not right? But what do you have a degree in, Ms. Brown?
Marketing. Yep,
Okay.
I got my degree in marketing, and then I went to radio school and got my FCC
Okay.
license to do radio, and I did radio for almost 20 years.
Now that's a good. Let's bring that up. Now your dad owned several radio stations. How many did he own?
Yes, he did. He owned WJBE in Knoxville, Tennessee, which is
Mm.
James Brown Enterprises, stood for James Brown Enterprises. He owned WEBB in Baltimore, Maryland, which stood for We Enjoy Being Black. And he
Mm.
owned WRDW in Augusta, Georgia, which stood for Where Radio Does Wonders. So and then later
Wow.
on, in 2000, he got another one here, and that was called that was The Boss, and the WAAW The Boss, and so that was the last station that he
Wow.
owned. So it was 4 in his lifetime, 4 radio stations that he owned, and that was important to him. It
Wow.
was important to
And
Dad to be able to communicate. You know, in the beginning when he first owned radio stations, you know, we didn't our stuff wasn't on mainstream. You know, there's a lot of information that we didn't get, but that's why he believed in mass
right.
communication, so that we could
Right.
communicate to our people what's important in our communities.
Right. Wow. Now you actually worked for your dad's stations, correct?
Yeah, I was program director and on air personality.
Wow. What was that like?
Yeah, working for him was not fun. That can be rough sometimes. But I learned a lot.
Mm. Wow. Wow. I mean, because your dad always spoke about ownership. I mean, he really spoke about that. I mean, because here you have, he recorded his music in his own recording studio. And then I believe he had his own pressing plant to press his own music.
That was done in
And then he had his own station.
those that was done during the days of King Records in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Right. Right. And to put it on his own station, that's that's power right there.
Black
To
power.
record, press, and put it on your station, that's power. And I'm quite sure that shook up the industry. I'm quite sure they were like, wow, this is just that's power. I mean, your dad always spoke about ownership, creating businesses, and speaking about doing for ourselves. I mean,
And
can
have
you elaborate a little bit
control.
more on that, please?
And have control of that
Right,
creativeness.
right,
You know, and that's, you know, so that's what you realize, is that it's real easy for our stories to be rewritten, for our history to be rewritten. But you could still tell your story and control your creativeness in telling your stories, so that you know that it's told in the manner that it should be told.
exactly. I mean, that's very important.
Well, yeah,
I mean,
because
because
it
your
goes
dad was
down in the annals of, you know, the ages. You know, you know, it's passed on, so you want to make sure the right information and the right historical facts are passed on.
right, right, right. I mean, now as you were as you got older, I mean, you were still you actually was head of James Brown Enterprise as far as his touring management and everything. Is that correct?
Yes, he had made me vice CEO, and I did tour with him quite a bit. Like I said,
Okay,
that was my best life's lessons, being out on tour with him. I learned quite a bit, not just, you know, about life, but just watching how he handled business.
right.
It was a lot of business
Wow.
to be
Yeah.
handled way before we got to the stage. He had a 75-25 rule, and it
Right.
was like 75% of the business is handling contracts, agreements, making sure people get paid, you know, that kind of stuff. You're on time, your sound people are doing what they need to do, et cetera, et cetera. 25% is just the performance. It's just the show. So if that 75%
Right.
is not together, you
Right.
just give away
Wow.
25%. You give away.
Wow.
You know, you could literally
That's right.
give it away and not get compensated correctly, or things be wrong. You
Right.
know.
Right. Exactly. Now, your dad always spoke about, he was always an advocate of education and literacy. I mean, because your dad, even though he didn't have a formal education, he taught himself how to read and everything. I mean, please speak about that. I know he gave out scholarships. I know he did a lot of work for black colleges. So please speak about that, because that was very important to him as well.
Yes, it was. My father only went to the 7th grade, so he knew how important it was in order to be educated in this society that we
Yes.
must live in. And so, yeah, there was those days when he gave away scholarships so that young black kids could go to school, because normally
Right.
they wouldn't. I remember a young female DJ in Atlanta. She talked about that. She was like, if it wasn't for Mr. Brown, I wouldn't have been able to go to college, you know, and get a degree. But I was able
Wow.
to get a scholarship from him. And so, yeah, he
Wow.
believed in that. He he wasn't able to do that, but he believed in paying it forward.
Wow. That's unbelievable. I mean, yeah, because he even did a song called "Don't Be a Dropout." He had a hit song called "Don't Be a Dropout."
Exactly. You know, it's unfortunate that we don't get those kind of songs anymore. Those higher consciousness songs, those songs that we are more aware of our consciousness. We don't have those types of
Right.
lyrics anymore, you know, and they're very relevant still today. Another
Yes.
one, I don't want nobody to give me nothing. Open up the door. I get it
Open the
myself.
door. Give
Just
myself.
give me an opportunity. Just give me the chance. And
That's right.
and I can get it done. So
That's
unfortunately,
right.
you know, these generations, they don't have those empowered songs to
Why do you
shed
think that's
light.
so,
And
man?
I think that's what's missing.
Why do you think that's so? That they don't want to do that? Why do you think that they don't want to do those type of songs anymore? Why do you feel that's? What's the reason for that, in your opinion?
Well, I think it's a few layers. You know what I mean? Number one, let's just talk about the bottom line. And unfortunately, when you are bombarded with violence, you know, drugs, that whole scenario thing, when you are bombarded with that, you know, and with those lyrics, you know, you know, that's all is there. It begins to create lifestyles in people's minds. You know, you begin to live out what you hear. What
Right.
goes in your eardrum and rests on your soul. You begin to live that out. Um,
Hmm.
as opposed to those higher consciousness songs that take you to a higher level and allow your mind to breathe and think on a higher level.
Right.
Some things that are just simple, practical. Don't be a dropout. Go to school. You know, those songs that will empower you and impact you. Generations to come. Say It Loud is over 50 years old. It is always going to be relevant. It will never not be
Yes.
relevant. There's never a
No.
time when Say It Loud or Black and Brown is not going to be relevant.
No. No.
There's never a time when It's a Man's World, but it won't be nothing without a woman or a girl would not be relevant.
That's right.
It will,
That's right.
you know, they will go until the end of time. A lot of
One of my
music that
favorite
you hear
songs
today
is,
will not last until the
yeah.
end of time.
One of my favorite songs by your dad is called "World." That's one
Yes.
of my favorite songs by your dad.
Yes.
"World."
Yes. It's that's what I'm saying. The
Talking
lyrics and the
about
consciousness. The lyrics and the
the
consciousness
consciousness.
coming from that kind of music.
Yes.
Where is that today?
Yes.
Where is it? We
Yes.
talking about bling bling and ring ring and sing sing and all this, you know, what and is that, does that raise the consciousness of young minds to think better? We think better,
Right.
we live better.
Wow. Right. Now, I know your dad I know your dad had his opinion on hip hop, and as far as sampling, what was his view on sampling his music, and the lyrics of hip hop when it was emerging back in the days?
Well, you know, it all started from the b-boy and the breakdancing and all of that, and when Cool Herc and all of those guys, you know, started doing those parties and looping them beats, you know. Daddy was the first one that was sampled, and all of the sampling laws was written based on what was happening with Dad's music, based on him being sampled so much. The problem that he had was that he did not he was not asked permission, and he did not get paid like he should.
Right.
So his problem was, it wasn't
right, because he's
so
the
much
most
with the
sampled
rappers.
artist ever.
What he didn't like with the rappers, what he didn't like with them was when they used profanity, when they called women out of their names, when they talked bad
Right.
about races and stuff like that. He was like, I don't want you using my music with those type of lyrics. Because he didn't want his
Yes.
music to be associated with tearing down women, calling them out their name, talking about other races. He just
Yes.
a lot of cursing and everything. He just wasn't down with it. So
Yes.
when the sampling started, it wasn't that he didn't mind. It wasn't that he didn't like it. He was down with it as long as the lyrics were cool. And
Right.
and the record companies, what they did is that they let the rappers use the music without getting permission from Dad. You know, this is how all this started, and not
Mm.
even paying him correctly. And here, these
Yeah.
laws had to be made based on him being sampled. So
Wow.
he took issue with the record companies on that. He took big issue
Right.
with them on that because
Right. Because
he wasn't being treated fairly. You know,
Right.
you just take my music. You don't even get my permission.
Right.
You know, that's where clearances came in. You know, you got to get a clearance. You know,
Right.
you got to ask.
Right. Because
and get permission.
he did a song where Africa been about him.
This is his art. So you must
Yes,
ask.
ma'am.
So
That's
these
right.
things wasn't happening, you know, and because
No.
of him standing up, it became a thing. And now there's a system.
Yes.
Now, do everybody follow
Yes.
that system? Probably not, but there's a system.
Probably not. Wow. He actually did a rap song where Africa been about it called Peace, Love, and Unity. That was a great song. How did that come about?
I remember that song. Yeah, it was. It really was. But that sampling thing, you know,
That was a positive song. I mean, yes. Yeah. I mean, I remember when that came out, Peace, Love, Unity, Having Fun. That's what hip hop was all about. And he was part of that song. I was like, wow, all about positivity.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, those guys, Africana.
Now let's talk.
Curtis Blow.
Let's talk about
Curtis Blow.
Yes. Yes. I mean, it's funny, but that, you know, I think as years went on, the hip hop community embraced him more. But unfortunately, they didn't do that in the beginning. They should have just embraced him more, being that they used his music. They should have said, you know what, Mr. Brown, let's hook up with this song right here. I mean, as years went on, he got more embraced with the hip hop community, which is a good thing. I mean, because they had to recognize that. I mean, because your dad's music was the emergence of hip hop. It really helped. It helped hip hop to another level. It really did.
I mean, when you look at it, he's basically, you know, the reason that he created funk. He's the reason hip hop got started.
That's right.
You know, so different genres of music that, you know, he was a part of the whole soul music, you know, and back in the day they called it race music, you know, but here he is creating his own genre with funk, and because of the funk, here comes another genre based on his music, hip hop.
Correct. Yes, ma'am. Wow. That's right.
And now, a lot of these mixtapes, you know, is another branch off of a way of, you know, hyping these songs, you know, these James Brown songs. They funky, but then these DJs hype them up and make them like EDM music. You know what I mean? They speed it up.
Yeah, yeah, you're right, Miss Brown. Did right. I mean, wow. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's just incredible how they just taking the music, unfortunately, and just not keeping it in its original tact. You know, you're absolutely right about that. Yeah. Let's talk about why you formed the James Brown Family Foundation. You know, when did that idea come about?
Once my father passed away, of course, one of the first questions to me was how were we going to continue the James Brown turkey giveaway and toy giveaway. And that's when I realized it was a real need in the community. They weren't just events. It was just a real need. So we created the foundation so that we could do the charitable work the right way. And
Right.
with that, I realized that music was important. And that's something Dad talked with me about all the time, how important it was to keep the music in schools. And because music is
Yes.
documented to help students, if they're learning music, they'll do well in science and math and reading. This is documented, you know,
Yes.
in the records of education, where music helps in these other academics. It's not those academics helping in music. It's the other way around. And
Right.
so, I created the James Brown Academy of Music Pupils as a summer program. And as I partnered with a school, it became a year-round program. And I looked around, and last year we celebrated 10 years of teaching children how to play instruments, you know, and
Beautiful.
how to, you know,
Beautiful.
stage performance. But it was more than that. It was also a situation where these kids, you know, we were there as mentors. We help them with their homework. You know, we get them help with their homework. We teach them how to drive. We take them to get haircuts, you know. So it became a situation where you are really helping the whole child. It ain't just one little thing they're learning. Is that you're actually there for the whole child to help develop the
Mm.
child. That's been my
Wow.
passion and my baby. And we celebrated 10 years last year. And that's only the grace of God.
Wow. That's beautiful. Because I follow you all the time. I see you with the kids. You know, they're really learning about the science of music, playing instruments. I mean, I'm like, wow.
And
I
you
mean,
know,
you're really doing a great
it's
job.
really cool because Robert, they form these relationships now. And so now these relationships are lifelong relationships. You know, these kids, they go to a lot of different schools in the area. They don't all go to the same school. They don't all live in the
Right.
same neighborhood. So they come together
Right.
and they don't know each other. And they play music together. And they become friends.
Mm.
So now I've got some of them that started in the beginning. They've been like friends for now 10 years, you know, 8 years, 9 years, however long they've been in there. And it's amazing. And so it's nothing as gratifying to see young kids develop, and you can help them do that. And then they help one another. It's like each one teach one.
I,
There's no better
yes.
gratitude than to see a young child developing and helping another young child develop.
Yes. Yes. I totally agree. I mean, you because I see the kids playing the music, and they're really when your creative mind works, everything else goes into place. As you said, when they're creative, when they're thinking, when their mind's creative, it just builds them up more.
Yes.
Wow, that's really great. I mean, I congratulate you on your 10 years of effort. I mean, really, that's a great accomplishment. And I really see what you're doing with the kids. I remember I saw a video of yours when you took the kids to a record shop, and they were blown away by the record shop. They couldn't believe they never saw an album before. They sitting there reading the album. I mean, I could recall me going to the record store when I was little and reading the albums. And here these kids, they never even saw an album before. They're like,
That in alone in itself is a history lesson because that ain't even
yes.
happening no more. I mean, the album
No.
cover told a story before you even listen to the music. You know, the art told the
Yes.
story before you even listen to the music. You know, Kids don't
Yes.
even get that no more, you know, straight
No, they don't.
download. They don't get no nothing else, you know, and so it
No.
was, and I mean, you know, back in the day, you go to the record store, you be there all day, you know, listening
All
to
day.
songs, looking at the artwork, and
That's
they
right.
and so that I thought that it was a really good, you know, a throwback to show them that this is how it was, this is how it started out, this is how it was done.
That's right. That's right. And they were just so blown away by like, wow. And I really understood that because it just, the digital age took that away. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, we had to grow with the times, but unfortunately it took that away. I
Right.
mean, that was a great part of my life, going to the record shop and seeing new albums coming out and, reading the album covers. So yeah, so that was a great thing you did with the
And
kids. That was really
and
great.
also it gave you a chance to possibly meet your favorite artists when they came to town to promote their new album. They got to go to
Yes,
the record shop, so you get an
they
opportunity
had to go to the record shop.
to see your favorite artist when they at the record shop. So
That's right.
now
That's
it's
right.
like
They had
a
to
whole
go.
new event and the whole thing now. You know, it used to be real easy back in the back then when you go to the record shop.
Right. Right. Wow. That's right, Ms. Brown. I mean, I can recall. That's right. I mean, I was that was and just the nostalgia, just being there and just seeing the records. So that was a great thing. I really applaud what you're doing with the children. Now let's talk about the movie Get On Up. Now, great movie. I still watch it today. I still watch it. Now, I know there were a lot of opportunities for your dad to have a movie made by him when he was alive. But what made you decide to do it, finally decide to make a movie about your dad?
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. My dad wasn't no big. It wasn't no big deal with him about a movie, so that's why it wasn't made while he was
Mm,
alive.
okay.
Yeah, he wasn't.
Okay.
He wasn't no. It wasn't no big thing with him about a biopic because he felt like Hollywood is gonna say what they want to say no matter what. You know,
Right.
they're gonna draw it out the way they want to draw it out. You know, you can be
Right.
a part of the script. You can be a part of the production on the set. But the secret and the magic is in that edit bay. And if you ain't a part of that, they tell the story the way they want to in the edit bay. When they begin to edit,
Right.
that's the storytelling.
Right.
Is is
Right.
how it's edited. And so he wasn't no big fan of them doing a movie on him. So that's pretty much why it was done after the fact. And to be honest with you, these film companies really prefer to do a movie about an artist after they've passed, so that they can say certain things that they probably wouldn't say or depict in the
Mm-hmm.
movie if the artist was still
Mm-hmm.
living. Because the artists don't want to sit
Right.
there and watch the bad part of their life be portrayed and depicted on a movie screen, you know?
Right. Right. Wow. So, were you in control of the filming of the movie? Were the family in control of it?
We were not in control. The only people that be in control are the ones who put the money up. When there's a film, now there you can be you are a part of it as a producer, consultant, or whatever the case may be. But the people who have control are the people that's gonna distribute it. That's the film company,
Right.
and the people that's put the money up to make it. Those are the EPs, the executive
Right.
producers, or
Right.
they are getting the money. If they ain't coming out their pocket, then they're getting the money. And then that person who puts the money up is an EP as well. So those
Mm-hmm.
are the people who have full control over a film.
Mm. Wow.
Now, of course, like I
So
said,
at the
you
movie,
can put input in. A family member would put input in,
right.
but you ain't in that edit bay when it's edited. You ain't part of. That's the high rollers.
Wow. Were you satisfied with the final cut?
There were some things that I expressed that wasn't too cool about. Just one of them, just to say, it was this one part with my grandmother. where she was standing with a man at a bonfire, and the little boy that was playing my dad, and the little
Right.
boy came up and was like, "Mama, it's me, James, your son." My grandmother would have never did that, and she, that just wasn't her. So, and I
Right.
let him know, I was like, that part just really was not my grandmother. She wasn't that type of a loose woman, and if she'd have saw her son, she would not have not paid attention, you know.
Right.
But when it's drama, when they got to put drama in there, you know, that's what happens. Like I said, full control.
Wow.
Um, you can write it up how you want it, but again, when it's time for editing, that's the true storytelling.
Right. Now you're working on another documentary on your dad.
Yeah, co-producing on this one with actually the people who put the money up, who making it happen. Mick Jagger, Questlove, A&E, Inaudible Productions, another production company. So those are your EPs. And I'm co-producing. So it's interesting because you get to hear from different people, different stories, different things. But it's about his life, and some stories never told, some footage never seen. There's always more to talk about
Okay.
with Dad. There's always
Yes.
more to add. Um,
Yes.
and so, yeah, that one is slated to come out May of 2023. Um,
Okay.
and that's going to be that would be his 90th birthday, May of 2023. So
Right.
that's the purpose of that, to celebrate his 90th birthday. And I'll be working on another one with
Wow.
another documentary I'm working on, where I am EP, with Erica Alexander and her partner, Ben Harnon of Color Farm Media. We're working
Okay.
on legacy families, where we're going to talk to different families um,
Oh.
about
Okay.
their situations. Every family is different. That's something that we always wanted to do, because every family has different unique situations. It's like we deal with the same, but we don't. Always but never. It's a really kind of quirky thing, but it's so interesting to hear when you can talk to the next
Right.
generation of these
Yes.
families. So it's a nice little project. It's a little further down the road, but that's something that me and Erica Alexander of Color Farm Media were working together. So, and a couple other things that we're working on too. That I'm working on some other projects as well. I can't speak on
Right.
one of them, but we're going to
Right.
be doing a fundraiser concert to raise money for music scholarships for James Brown Academy of Music pupils. Father's Day
Beautiful.
weekend here in Augusta, Georgia, at the Imperial Theater. Daughters of Legacy will
Wow.
perform.
Okay.
Keisha Jackson, Heather Hayes,
Yes.
Naimfo
Yes.
Aisha, and Jamesia Bennett, who is Ann Nesby's
Yes.
daughter. Ann Nesby, former
Yes.
lead singer of Sound of Blackness. And
Yes.
and me and my sisters, Jeanette Bellinger and Dr. Yama Brown, we are going
Yes.
to perform Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud. And then my students, Jeff,
Okay.
will close out the show with a few more songs. So looking
Wow.
forward to that June 18th here in Augusta, Georgia, for Father's Day weekend.
Oh, that's great. Oh, that's great. Wow. That's a great that because your sister, Dr. Yama, she's the vice president of the foundation, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Wow. That sounds great. And that's gonna be raising money for scholarships for kids for music. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow, that's really great. Um, Talk about, Ms. Brown, the state of, Black music and where it's going now, your opinion.
I think a lot of old music, nostalgia music, is making a comeback in a sense, because you notice that a lot of this new music, it's very few songs that are original but a lot of them still derive from some type of inspiration from an old school groove. Like, for example, my music
Right.
director, music instructor was teaching our students I'd Rather Go Blind by Etta James. And you know, that's a
Right.
good old school song.
Great
So
song.
I walked in the classroom and I was listening and I was like, okay. So I sat down, and after they finished, I asked the music instructor, I says, Mr. Sapp, you know what you was teaching them? And he said, yeah, Etta James, I'd Rather Go Blind. I said, no. And I pulled up Tennessee Whiskey, the song Tennessee Whiskey. And that's I'd Rather Go Blind. They basically took her song and made Tennessee Whiskey. It's the same chord progressions. It's the same rhythm, everything. It's her song.
Right.
And
Wow.
Tennessee Whiskey is a good song.
Yeah.
If you listen to it,
But
listen to that and then go back and listen to Etta James. You're like, wow, that's the song.
Right.
So it's a lot of that going on. R&B music is the foundation and the soul and it's in the fabric of America, you know. And that, you know, soul music from certain artists, that was the foundation. It was movement music in the civil rights era.
Yes.
You know, it was music that raised your consciousness of thinking.
Yes.
We don't have that no more, you know, and that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate.
Yes.
You know, everything is quick, upload it, get it uploaded so people download it real quick. Another thing too is that was very important is kids learning how to play instruments and not just using these computers and synthesizers. You know, that certain artists are going to last because they play instruments.
Right.
So
yes.
I think that has to come back in a real profound way. You know, like I mean, you go to live shows now, and you might see some instruments, but they playing over tracks.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
You playing over you playing over a music bed. It's like this ain't no raw sound from a live instrument.
No. Yeah, Ms. Brown, you're absolutely right. I mean, you go to a show now, like I said, you barely see live instruments. You know, it's unfortunate, and it's great that you're teaching the kids about music. I mean, that they're learning an instrument, the drums, and they're being creative, and that's tapping into their creative side. So that's a great thing that you're doing. Ms. Brown, please speak about why it's important to preserve the culture of Black music.
Say that again.
Please speak about why it's important to preserve the culture of Black music.
It has a lot of wisdom and knowledge in it, and it has saved people's lives. It has literally saved people's lives. It is still relevant and will always be. And it can still teach and empower minds and souls. It is the foundation of music. The African drum is the foundation of music, period.
Right.
So our music,
wow.
You know, our music, our soul music, our real good music comes from just that. Comes from the soul.
Wow.
Real life experiences.
That's yes, ma'am. Absolutely right. Wow. Now, Ms. Brown, please speak about as far as what we're doing, the Rhythm and Blues Preservation Society, as far as our part in preserving Black music culture. Because you're a big supporter of us since day one. We appreciate your support. So please speak about as far as what we're doing as preserving the culture of Black music.
Well, first of all, you have a willing heart to do that. That's number one. Everybody's got an opinion, but action is what makes things really happen. So it's a good thing that you all are recognizing. You're willing to recognize these artists and to give history about these artists, because there's new generations and new ages evolving constantly. So they won't know unless they're taught. They won't know unless they can pop it up on Instagram and read about it, So it's good that you recognize these artists and give history about these artists each time you recognize them, because the music, it really never gets old.
No, it doesn't. I thank you for that. That's what the Rhythm and Blues Preservation Society is all about. We honor, those who contribute to Black music. We had to honor them. I mean, because in Black music is a culture. It's a world culture, and those who contributed have to be recognized. And that's what we are here doing to preserve the culture of Black music. And I appreciate that what you said. Ms. Brown, please speak about why should people donate to our cause, the Rhythm and Blues Preservation Society?
Well, first of all, it takes money to do what you do. We all out here trying to push and do something positive, and it takes funds to do that. So we would hope that people would see your efforts, and if they see your efforts, that they would want to support it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Ms. Brown, please let everyone know, your social media for yourself and the foundation. Let everybody know where you can be reached at.
Well, you can always check James Brown Foundation, James Brown Family Foundation. The Instagram is official James Brown Family Foundation. We also James Brown Academy of Music Pupils is on Instagram, as well as James Brown Family Historical Tour. We do a tour every Saturday here in Augusta, Georgia, where you can learn about the life and times of James Brown growing up in Augusta, and then see the museum exhibit and the Augusta Museum of History. And so we do that every Saturday. It is the only tour in Augusta, and well recognized, because we have people come from everywhere to take this tour. More people come from out of town, of course, to take this tour. So we are very proud of the James Brown Family Historical Tour. We've been doing that now for about 5-6 years. And so, hey, we ask you to get your family reunions together, get your groups together, and come on down and take the tour.
Yes. And I know every year you have an annual block party for your dad's birthday. Speak about that.
Yes, this year it's a Soul Fest that's going to happen the weekend of April 29th, 30th, and May 1st here in Augusta, Georgia. Our students and alumni students will perform the first night, Friday night. I don't know which artists are going to perform yet. They haven't locked that down, but it's going to be that whole weekend. And the best part about that, that's another way of coming to enjoy soul music, pay tribute to James Brown, and support James Brown Academy of Music pupils, because some of the proceeds when they buy it, when a ticket is purchased, will go music scholarships for that soul festival as well.
Beautiful. And Ms. Brown, I want to thank you for being on our Monday Music Spotlight. We appreciate you. And before I go, I just had to let everyone know that the Rhythm and Blues Preservation Society is a nonprofit organization. You can make any donation to our Cash App, RBPS 18. and paypal.me/RBPS18. And you can go to our bio and click the link to our GoFundMe page. All donations are welcomed. And also, support the James Brown Family Foundation as well. They're doing great work. Make a donation to their organization as well. They're doing great work with the kids, teaching them about music, giving out scholarships. So support us and the James Brown Family Foundation as well. Ms. Brown, I want to thank you for being on a Monday Music Spotlight. It was an honor. It was a pleasure to learn more about your dad and your works in the community. We thank you. We appreciate you. We salute you, and continue success with you and your family and us and all your the projects you're working on, honoring your dad. We appreciate you and we support you. Thank you.
Thank you so very much for your support. I wish you much success with the Preservation Society. Continue doing what you're doing so that this next generation and generations to come will always know what the real deal is about the soul music. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. And on behalf of the Rhythm Blues Preservation Society, this is another Monday Meet the Spotlight, a great interview. I'm President and CEO Perry Thompson. We wish you love and peace. And good night, everybody.